Nothing special creative example in code.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to our Tuesday meeting of TechMasters.
Good morning.
Morning. To see you all made it through this beautiful snow and all this other stuff. Alright. With that, I'd like to introduce our president, Vince Bullinger, to come.
Thank you. Started to kick in after a little while. Back up. Here we go. There. That's where it was. Now, if you could please all rise and join me, if you care to do so, in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. And make sure I didn't say it wrong. The national anthem before. And honoring our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have a timer today?
We do.
Yeah. Do you have an opening invitation for us?
Yes, I do. Life is a persistent teacher. You will keep repeating lessons until we learn.
You may all be seated. All right. Do we have the minutes from the previous meeting? We do not have our secretary here. I know that I had discussed with William, and he had mentioned the idea of, well, I had mentioned the idea, and he was thinking that he might start putting it on the blog, and then it's just easier for us to get free content and also just be able to go ahead and pull it up. For fun, I'm going to see if he did.
I have my notes from last week, if that would be of any use.
That sure, why not? Are those notes involving secretarial type?
Secretarial type notes.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters, we had a executive meeting last week before the club meeting met. The word of the day was adamant time. And in the business meeting, we had a guest, Matt Grounds. We talked about the holiday meeting and also the Microsoft Modern Developer event that was coming up. There was also a total of 11 people in attendance with one guest. I think I mentioned that already. Alex was our Toastmaster. Our better speaker was Marie Fromm. Our better evaluator was Loris Holmberg. The fuzzy mouse went to Mike Mankiewicz, and that was the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Bill, Secretary. Now on to any new business. I'll skip you this portion. Anybody have any announcements? All right. Just Mike already mentioned, but we have a holiday party next week. Bring a snack to share. You don't have to because we'll probably have way too much food, but please do so. You don't have to tell anybody. Just show and see what happens, right? We've already got a couple people that are going to do. We are going to be donating to an organization called PROP. That is the charity of choice for ILM. And please, if you care to do so, bring a food shelf donation. I noticed up front they already have a big container for food shelf donations. We'll present them with a check-in food shelf donations next week. Let's see, moments of truth and club success plan. If you're on the club executive committee, please respond. I did get a few last night, haven't sorted through, but please do so if you haven't already. And something called Code Freeze, January 14th, 8 to 5, so that's pretty cool. Officer training, and if you are on the club executive committee and you did not get trained in round 1, then you need to get trained for round 2. And if you did get trained in round 1, why not get trained again? I will be doing that. I'm encouraging everyone to do it as far as the officers are concerned. What?
Do we get credit towards the distinguished program if we get trained a second time?
If everybody does twice, which means we failed. But if everybody gets trained once, then we get credit.
You can't get the credit twice.
Yeah, we can't get all 10 points, basically. Anyway, they're doing these things called Toastmasters Leadership Institutes now, and I went to one back in July, and it was fantastic, way better than typical training, so I definitely recommend that. And the one for our division, which means this area, Edina, Bloomington, is January 23rd, 8:30 to noon. They don't have a location yet, but you can attend any of them, and that's one per division all around the Twin Cities. So if you live close to one of them, go attend that instead, because it's no big deal. I plan to attend the one in Egan, because that's close to where I live. But of course, you could go ahead and attend any of the other training, but like I said, they're a little more valuable than the other ones. If you're looking for where to go to find that out, go to this URL here, d6tm.org/office of trade. All right, I think that's it for now. Slide back over to the regular agenda. All right, so I was introduced by the Sergeant at Arms. I'm going to be reintroducing the Sergeant at Arms as today's Toastmaster. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster for the day, Mohammed Free.
Thank you, Vince. All right. As I said before, welcome to the Tuesday edition of Toastmasters. Hopefully you're all pumped and ready to go. I know I am. I'm waiting for snow, but it never seems to be flying at this time. But at this point, I will start introducing our roles. Do we have a court gesture? No? Anybody want to fill in quick? Mike.
I don't remember if I did this one before, but what did the two oceans say when they? Okay, I did that one. Never mind.
Okay, I guess I can do one. Wikipedia says, I know everything. Google says, I have everything. Facebook says, I know everybody. Internet says, without me, you know nothing. And electricity says, keep on talking. All right, with that, I'll introduce our 1-minute Toastmaster. Our 1-minute Toastmaster today is Tony. Tony, if you could please give us a 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow TechMasters. I was wondering, I got to thinking last night, what do we do to better, sometimes this book is a really good thing for invitations and everything, but it's not always the only thing. All of us encounter things during the day and during our lives that say, this is something I should remember and maybe share with others. I keep a collection of tweets that I see. Various people say different things. And if I see something cool, I copy it and paste it in. In my case, I use Evernote, so that I can bring that to Toastmasters and have an invocation available to share with everybody. Just a thought that people may want to do. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll introduce our grammarian. Our grammarian today is Marie. Marie, if you could please give us the word of the day and tell us a little bit about your role as well.
The word of the day is execrable. Sometimes you want to use a very strong word to describe something that's very bad, such as the security in this system was execrable. And it's used to describe something that may have a whole lot of problems with it. The other things I'll be doing as grammarian is counting ums and ahs, those words. And I will look for anyone presenting a word picture for the descriptive word. I'm doing ums and ahs. So I'm trying to count myself, which is really getting recursive. So anyway, picking word of the day, count the word of the day usage, ums and ahs, as well as word pictures.
Thank you. Our next role is the timer. The timer today is Jonathan, who, after timing Olympians like Usain Bolt, has decided that his time would be better served in timing our speaking portions of the Toastmasters ceremonies, table topics, and things of that nature. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jonathan. If you could please explain what you're going to do and the times.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Mr. Toastmaster. Today I'll be timing the table topics, speeches, and evaluations with my green, yellow, and red cards. For each of these, for the table topics, it'll be green at 1 minute, yellow at 1.5 minutes, and red at 2. For speeches, it will be green at 5, yellow at 6, and red at 7. And for evaluations, it will be green at 2, yellow at 2.5, red at 3 minutes.
Thank you. going to turn it over to our topics portion of our meeting, our impromptu speaking, and putting people on the spot and making them think about world events, anything that may come up, pencils, sharpeners, whatever it may be. And today's table topic master is Nick. Nick, if you would please come over.
All right, well, I did it this morning, so I Googled questions, so they're gonna be all over the board, and they might seem execrable to someone, so don't be surprised, okay? All right, so let's see, how many, we don't have that many people, so everybody wants to go, or just, okay. All right, Mike, let's start with you. First question, why does nodding of the head signifies yes, and shaking of the head signifies no?
I know the exact answer to that, sir. And the question that I don't understand is, how is it that certain kind of cultures go out and adopt different execrable? I want to be execrable today in my answer and really dive into this whole question, whole concept of how body language and particular kinds of body language mean different things in different cultures. Because as you know, this is, yes, I understand exactly what you're talking about if you're talking to someone from India. It's kind of weird. It's like, no, I'm from a different culture. And so you step back and say, okay, well, what is the right way? Is there a right way? Or is there just communication? And is there that connection? And I think that what I look for when I say, is someone connecting with me, is I look for eye contact. I look for, are you engaging with what I'm saying? And you look around the room, you see people's heads going up and down. It's like, yeah, okay, I can tell certain people are looking at their phones. I can tell other people are looking at their computer or maybe coughing in their hand. And it's just an interesting way to step back and say, how can I connect with that person and bring them into my message, and then turn around and make sure that I can make that happen, because that is really why we get up and do this whole live communication thing, which comes back to the whole idea of what is it that we're doing by doing public speaking. It is to make that connection with our audience and to share what we've learned, which I think is a very execrable goal to go after, like a thunderstorm that comes along with lightning and just zaps you, just brings you right to where you need to be. Mr. Topic Master.
Jonathan. You like humor, you like jokes? Okay, well, let's try this one. What exactly is it about good jokes that make people laugh?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. What is it about jokes that make people laugh? Good jokes. Among my friends, I guess I'm known as a bit of a punster. It's not always that I come up with something right on the spot. Usually it's something that someone else has to be talking about to be able to come up with a good pun and turn it around on them. One friend of ours in particular is very notorious about his puns. They are not so much funny as they are groaners. It's the kinds of what these days people might call dad jokes, where you say, I'm hungry. You go, hi, hungry, I'm dad. We get the joke, but it's kind of a terrible joke. So what is it that makes the difference between a good joke and a bad joke? I suppose it's the how clever is it, how unique is it? Was it something that we've heard 1,000 times, or is it something we've never heard before? So I feel like when it comes to what separates the good from the bad, I would say it's whatever is quick wit, unique, versus the tried and true, hi, hungry, I'm dad types of jokes. Cool, thank you.
Let's see, Mr. Vince. So as far as we all know, you're a very organized man. You're always, most of the time, on time and keep us to the schedule. So here's a question for you. What is time?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master, fellow TechMasters. What is time? You had asked other people other questions that I was like, boy, that's gonna be a tough question to answer. I was thinking about John's question, for example. I'm like, how do you scientifically define what makes someone laugh? And I couldn't even come up with an answer. But time, I got this one. All right, so give me about 10 minutes. So you ever heard of the first dimension, what's the difference between zero, what's the zeroth dimension, right? It's a point, right? And it's no dimensions, no width, length, height, nothing like that, right? What's the first dimension? A point, a dot, or a line, right? And what's the difference between the two? 2 points connected with a line, right? That's the difference. Now, what's the difference between first and second dimension? The second dimension is what? A point, like a piece of paper, right? And what's the connector, right? It's the connector between one line and another one. There's yourself a point, right? Now, how do we turn that into a three-dimensional shape, right? So we have one plane over here, we have another plane over here. Connect them. What do we have? 3 dimensions. Now, what is the difference between me right here as a three-dimensional object and me over here as a three-dimensional object? Time. The way that I turned from this to this was time. In reality, time is just another dimension, literally width, length, and height. So that means, in my opinion, I'm not joking, life, death, and everything in between doesn't mean anything. Same with the height. Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master. Hope that answers the next question.
That is excellent. Let's see, who else we got in this book? Tony? All right. Well, around holiday times, we all have wishes, we all have some desires or something we hope for. So question for you, what do you want most out of your life?
Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master. Fellow TechMasters, what would I like most out of life? Well, perhaps this goes back to Vince's question, time, and not the type that grows on a plant and is green and has little tiny leaves. That's time, and sometimes people like to wave that around. We say, you need time? Well, here you go. Talking about bad jokes. Those are just the kind of things you don't want to hear. Time is an illusion in many ways because it seems to, you're told you have 20 hours to do this. And then seemingly 10 minutes later, your boss is standing there. Well, is it done yet? Your deadline's in 30 seconds. Time is an illusion, but there are times when I would like more of it, especially with family and friends. Thank you.
Let's see, you're
Marie.
Murray, all right. Murray, so question for you. Let's do the opposite of Tony's question, all right? So the question for you is, what have you given up on?
Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master, ladies and gentlemen. What have I given up on? Well, I've given up on being unhappy. I've decided that several years ago, I made a conscious decision that I needed to change several things that were creating a great deal of unhappiness and pain in my life. Other things I've given up on is many years ago, I gave up on drinking because it didn't have a place in my life. And I wanted to be able to study and learn more, and it interfered with those things. I gave up on bad relationships and made a solid inventory of the things that had gone wrong in relationships in my life, and ended up meeting the love of my life, who I've been with for 21 years. I gave up on many different things, on distractions, on lack of focus, and I gave up on spinning my wheels and decided to really focus on the things that were important to me. So with that, I end, and those are the things I gave up on.
All right, we have 2 speakers. Jesse is speaking. Alex is speaking. Mohammed, want to go? All right. All right, let's see. Well, during the holiday times, we always go to the stores and there's people collecting charities, and you always like thinking, how much you should give, and this kind of thing. So, question for you: how much of a person's income should go to charities?
Thank you, Mr. Tabletop Master, fellow TechMasters. Thank you for not giving me an execrable question. This one I think I can try to answer and not fumble upon too much. How much of people's income should they donate to charity? Well, I think there's multiple ways of thinking about this. You can always go with, 20%, 10%, nice number. You make, let's say $1 million, you donate 10% of your income. That's a good chunk of money going into charity, and charities do great things. It's finding the charity that aligns with your beliefs and your thought processes that motivate you even more. And I think the charities that work better are the ones that have a higher purpose, or charities for children. Those kinds of things pull a special string in my heart for sure. I don't think there should be a set amount. I think everybody should contribute as much as they can. And I think if you look at people like Dave Ramsey, who will say, don't do anything for a while, get your life in order, and once you're living like no one else, donate as much as you can. Donate 50%, 75%, whatever you have, just donate it. If you're at a point where you're satisfied, you can donate whatever you need to. If you look at it from a perspective of, hey, I need to spend X amount of dollars, then you'll worry about the X amount of dollars. If it was done kind of like a 401k kind of thing, where people are just, you're just donating automatically and out of your check and you never even notice it, that probably worked better. But I don't think there should be a set amount. I think people should give as much as they can. I think more than money is time. If people can donate their time and be involved in the charity, I think they get a lot more out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, next time I have a question, can I just hold you and ask?
Sure.
Excellent. All right, we have 2 speakers. If you guys want to go, I have questions for you, or we can just skip. Wrap it up. Okay, well, hey, let's welcome back Madame.
Thank you, Nick. That was great questions. I'm glad you didn't ask me on the other ones. That would have helped me for sure. At this point, I'd like to call for a break, 5 minutes, and if the speakers and evaluators and general evaluator can come to the podium. And I think that we're looking for one more evaluator, right? Or do we have enough evaluators? No, we need one more evaluator.
I can be an evaluator.
You can? All right, awesome. Come on back.
I think we should make it a point. Yeah, we need to start the meeting, break, return to work. And as much as possible,
Point taken.
a chance to use the
Yes, sir.
Huh?
They call me Paul, Ryan.
Good table talk.
I think we need a larger gavel.
Oh, wow.
My father-in-law makes gavels after pop. He said he would make them.
They can't be any larger than what you got.
So that's the horrible option, but I mean, you really got like a workshop full like,
How long is it?
I wish.
What?
It's just
it's not like you go to education.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, you can use it on, you see something first. You want to bad, and you want to use this.
I don't have slides, so are you gonna need to plug it in your machine to make sure it's in line?
Let Jesse.
The system security of this,
And-
yeah, the
User input.
was delivered on Ubuntu 10, which is
Uh,
unmaintained, unsupported, and unpatched. Reading was vulnerable to shell shock, bash,
Let's try
and
five.
heartbleed.
Who's the general
Security was actually.
So who wants, so Jesse, you want to go first?
Yeah, then I'll go first. So I have here.
Plug this in or?
Yeah.
No,
Do you want to sign you
have
that?
online now.
So who is our?
Me and Nick.
Nick and Mike.
Sounds like a TV show.
Find out
Yeah.
before they- Well, yeah.
So
they
Ellen.
terminated it. Yeah, it's- I actually. Oh my goodness.
What's that?
They don't have a spot for you to use them.
No, but transit up.
So we want me to like.
That's pretty good. I guess. Yeah.
For.
When you type in. Do I have time to go to bed?
You wanna tell me,
We were a little ahead of schedule.
I would forget things in bed. A general evaluation. Okay.
Yeah, and we can make much general elections for.
What's the good word for
What
is
time?
I opened it up like at like around midnight. I can answer only good questions for you guys.
Well, I appreciate time, that was what I could do.
Informational update. Yes,
They say
something like
time
that.
is just like, gravity. Yeah, what was the movie? Like comparing the time to gravity, and you can go back and forth. The only thing you can defy is gravity, but time we can just, go back.
Still have old one.
Yeah, you can travel time, we just don't know how yet. But physics says you can, you can't fight gravity.
You got the know, right?
Yes,
That's true. So you guys not doing
I had the workshops and I got but I should have me because it's not. I cannot very snap. Just normal. It's just recently updated. It now reminds me for certain time. It was a meeting.
That was more.
Yes, yeah, it's a topic I feel.
Is this a meeting or just?
It's events.
Durable and more holidays and old one. Meeting flow apart.
We're gonna have meals of potluck before or the
Okay.
in the break. Yeah. Well, that'll be a leadership challenge for us.
Because
Chief, you have a Charlie, what do you want to watch?
You can always do it. Actually, when I do that, I put them aside as a matter. It's my time is what.
So I did two of the broken one, I did one.
Yeah, I need some.
I was down Wednesday.
You know, it seems like it's kind of wise, but.
Broken. Yes.
Honestly, be super critical, and you're not gonna hurt my feelings. See, absolutely anything. You gonna join us for Florida? Might get to talk to you about. Israel.
Like I said, I haven't touched my stuff in the past 2 weeks. Everything else. I was here by a second.
You find but it's okay.
Not here.
Yeah.
Never works.
From those fires.
So you alive?
Yeah, I'm still there.
A little bit different on this side. Yeah. No. Okay. No. I don't know. No to say.
You read here, you have business to take care
I know, I.
Are you maybe getting flatter?
Tomorrow, right?
Did you bring your leadership?
Yeah, actually was thinking, will you come or not, because you were not here like for a couple of months.
Still not sure the level.
It was just in time.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, for after a 5-minute break. This time we will start our prepared speaking portion of the meeting. And today we have two speakers, two wonderful, great speakers, experienced Toastmasters. Our first speech is going to be delivered by Jesse Gould. Jesse was going to talk to us about user input. Jesse, if you could.
So user input is hard. In fact, I would say it's probably the hardest part of our entire job of programming. Just recently, I had a project where we had to validate user input for the mother load of all user input, user address data. So think of user address data as name, address, zip code, city, state, all that kind of stuff. At first, it started off really simple with just requiring fields to be filled. Then it ended up being a valid address. And then it finally ended up on a valid address with a zip code extension. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know my zip code extension. So having or allowing a user to be able to input something like that is just a ridiculous task in my opinion. So there's a couple things that we can do. One of which is to kind of coax the user into trying to put correct data in, so to speak. So here we have help hints, help text hints below. I'm sure you guys have seen this on many different sites. The problem with this, however, though, is a lot of times without validation, either client side or server side, the user can just simply click the enter or the submit button and go onto the server. Or for that matter, they can enter bogus data like this and same type of thing, right? Coaxing the user just does not work. Other ways that you can kind of enforce this a little bit more is through placeholder hints. You know, once again, you're really relying on the users of your system to take these hints and do something valid with them. But once again, they can come through and enter any kind of data that they want, click submit, and go to the next page. So then the final piece of that, coaxing the users in order to do things are the pop-up hints. Of course, there's many more things, like I've seen different question marks on the side of things where you can click it and it'll tell you what you're supposed to enter. But once again, without validation, you're not going to have any sort of control over what the user puts or inputs. So going a little bit heavier and enforcing the hand a tad bit, we can do stuff like client and server-side validation. And Microsoft gives us a really good tool set to do this kind of thing with data annotations. So you can do things like required.
Could you make the screen a little bit, the text a little bigger?
You bet. How about not 200%? How about
200%'s good.
okay. So anyways, so there's things like required, there's other things like different types like postal code and so on and so forth. And now I'm going to shrink out. What is it? You're going to have to bear with me on this. Sorry guys, on the text size. So anyways,
Bottom right corner, there's a number that says 100%.
Bottom left.
Bottom left.
gotcha.
Change that to be 150 or 200%. There you go.
Here we go. All right, so there's things like required, and there's other things like data types that aren't really types, like postal code, and you can do things like string length, for example, for state, if you only want there to be 2 characters. So things like that can be enforced and kind of force the hand of users to input correct data. However, this still kind of doesn't get past invalid data. So some of these things you'll notice, state comes through, it says AA. You can kind of get past that. Same thing with this, you can enter invalid things where they're not numbers, so to speak, and still kind of get through the front door. The final piece of this, however, though, which I found was actually pretty easy from the US Postal Service, they actually have APIs available to anybody, completely free, that allows you to check addresses. So you'll do something similar to this, passing XML on the string with the username that you get from filling out this one single form here. And then you'll get back data something like this, which is a validated data with zip code extension and so on and so forth. So just to get a quick peek of something like that. If we come in, then we can start actually doing validation on data like this. Let's just say we wanted to say, like we did before, let's do all zeros here. We can start doing validation and see that we get invalid data, or better yet, when we actually type in right data, they can get this plus the extension, and I should have actually put a breakpoint here. This plus the extension, which is exactly what we needed. But I was really amazed to see that this thing was actually for free. And you'll see here, the zip is actually the dashed version, so the extension version, and that's coming back from the US Postal Service. So with things like coaxing the user to put correct data in is just not enough. You need client side, server side, but then even furthermore, I would dare say that you need data validation as well a lot of times. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jesse, for that great presentation. Now, our second speaker is Alex. Alex has been a member of this club for a long time. He is the Vice President of Education, and today he would like to talk about Toastmaster training, something that was alluded to during the presidential address, if I dare say so. With that, I'd like to introduce our second speaker, Alex.
Good morning, everybody. As Mohammed said in presidential address of TechMasters Nation, yes, our busy and punctual president made this point that we need to consider Toastmaster training. And today I would like to talk about this Toastmasters training, but not from a point of complex PowerPoint with many bullets, but on a kind of little bit different level, how it connects with you if you go there and what you may get there. And number one is, it is, from my experience, it turned out to be a two-way street. Because like we are here, we are volunteers here, we volunteer in our time for ourselves, but also to helping others move forward. So with Toastmaster training meeting, it's also organized by Toastmasters. And they volunteer to help you, but when you come there, you help them achieve their goals, and it's kind of two-way street. You go there to learn something, to be trained and specific, but you also bring your experience of your club and share there. And when it goes into this two-way exchange, it's kind of multiplies the value of it. It's not like you come there, you listen, you write down, and you think about this is valuable. But you also, as soon as you start saying, "Oh, we're doing it this way," people kind of start engaging in, but we are doing this way, and we say, "Oh, but we suffer from lack of membership." Say, "Oh, and we did this because we did that," and it comes to this engagement, and you feel like almost like you come here, it's early morning, you're tired, you're not sure what you're doing. But people come and tell you about value of user input, and you're like, "Oh, I got technical idea, and by the way, I have a question," and your morning kind of starting up, and you feel energized. And same, you go to Toastmaster training, you go where you are not sure what will happen, you're late maybe, but you come there, start exchanging ideas, start seeing people expressing themselves, what is they learning, how they changing their life, and you start to share, and it's again pumps up you, primes you, okay, I can do more and better as a just Toastmaster or Toastmasters officer. And the training happens twice a year. It's actually for 2 months, but it's scheduled with kind of interesting way. It's 1/3 of it before end of year, Toastmaster year or calendar year, and 2/3 after. It seems like first 1/3 like June or December, it's for people get into groove, and July, August, and January, February, really people attend there. And for officers, it's necessary to go there as a DCP, and we can say we have to go there because it's formal, you have to go. But actually, if you are not an officer, you also can go there. Nobody will tell you, you ate too much muffins, you have to get out. But you have to RSVP for training, yes. But just come there and observe, and especially in the winter, if you come, you may consider to be an officer in July 1st. So this is the right time to go there in winter. So if you go to our TechMaster website, like TechMaster Twin Cities, yes, here, where is this District 6? This is our district. And in this area, if you go there, you get to this website. It's a very busy website. You may find lots of informational and valuable here. But also it has this on this site upcoming events. This is actually most of this event they dedicated to training, with training here. And if you go like a little bit more, and you see here view calendar, here this will show you this our District 6, our whole calendar, and for example, what is going to be here for December. And if you see, like, not much training for December, and you go month by month, and you can find what you need here. And you may say, okay, now is also not much of it, but schedule will be popping up, for example, earlier in January. Yes.
I see several TLIs on the weekend, especially Saturdays.
Yes, for example. So this is like place where to start. You go to TechMasters. You are not sure with all this busy stuff. You are an officer, you are not officer, what you need to do this or need to do that. And if you just would like to little bit go up and see how other clubs are doing, what is a formal proposition, what is informal, just idea exchange, You just visit this training, and very frequently they are in the evening, and frequently on a weekend, frequently during lunch hours, and they can be anywhere in Twin Cities. So you find place near your work, near your home, find what is easier for you considering the traffic, and just go there. I especially like to go play training in Ridgedale Mall, where is the library, Ridgedale Library. They have like pretty big rooms. Lots of people come there. It also can be used for you as a networking. You can find variety of people just joining Toastmasters, extremely experienced, like 20 years with lots of medals, all that kind of crowd, and you feel this buzz there, and there kind of be inspiration of an organization at the same time. So in conclusion, for all TechMasters officers, I really ask you to attend this training in January, February. So our club, for example, can learn TCP points, but also you know what you're doing. And for members who may be considering to be in a leadership team in the future, just also attend and see what it is, get a taste of it, and see that even if it would be a long jump to become a Toastmaster officer, there is lots of support, lots of information in a club and overall in Toastmasters organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Wonderful speech, very timely to go in with our presidential address for TechMasters, of course. Sorry, don't want to confuse it with the other one. And I really appreciate you going through how to get to this, because it'll help in registering for myself, at least for January 23rd. All right. With that, I would like to introduce our general evaluator. Our general evaluator is also our current president, and his goal has been to, since we may not get a white Christmas, he's been focused on getting a green Christmas, because he's been getting his lawn in order ever since he bought his house. So according to Vince, it was a chemical dump site for some kind of thing, and he's been trying to get it back into
Keep it normal. Keep talking.
Okay, sorry. It's like stuff's moving behind me and I can see it's a little
You can see the strings behind you.
yeah. Well, the colors changes, so you always see that happening, right? I don't know, maybe I got the eyes on the back of my head.
Superpowers.
It's a reflection in the
Reflection on the glasses, that's what it is. Experience from like, all right, so with that, I'll turn it over to our general evaluator. Our general evaluator today is Vince Walter.
Thank you, Mohammed. Before every last one of us with ADHD forgets everything that we just learned these last two speeches, could you all bow your heads, and we will take the vote for the best of the two fantastic, wonderful speeches. Our first speaker today was Jesse. If you feel that Jesse was the best of the two phenomenal speakers today, please raise your hand. And if you feel that Alex was the better speaker of the two giant, amazing, colossal, phenomenal speeches today, please raise your hand. All right, you can raise your hands. Now I will call on the evaluators. Today's evaluator, Jesse, is Nick. Nick, could you please evaluate Jesse?
Well, thank you, Jesse. Thank you for a fantastic speech. I actually have known you for years, but I haven't seen you doing a presentation. So it was interesting for me how you would do. You did great. So let's start with the good things. You definitely know your material. I know you've been born coding. So you've done it all your life, so you know your stuff. So there's no doubt about it. You have authority and you can present this material. However, there is quite a few things that I think you might want to improve. Well, let's start just with some technical things. Normally the introduction, like a little introduction, telling guidance, which you can talk about, just gives us the scope of what you're going to tell us and help us a little better navigate through your speech to see, like if you're in the middle of your speech or you're at the end of the speech. So maybe introduction would be nice. Also a conclusion, like at the end, like when you like, okay, I'm done, I'm going, okay, see you guys later. Maybe kind of like conclude, repeat again what you said. Just gives makes it like more, complete, makes the speech more complete. Technical things like screen needs to be bigger, especially when you like jump multiple screens. So you have like your screen divided like 5 different multi-screens, needs to be bigger. When you switch your mouse, probably do it a little slower because I know you know where you are, and my eyeballs were just going left, right, left, right, left, right. So focus a little. Eye contact, that's very important. And look for me like when you're doing a speech that you like your computer more than you like your audience. And I know it's not true because you're very social now, but yeah, you might want to do more eye contact with us. Then it's easier for us to, because you're doing it for us. So it's more important your interaction with the audience than the computer. Now your nervousness. I have no idea why, because you know your material and you've been in the industry and you're authority. So the way I know you were nervous, the preparation for the speech, and then during the speech, your knees, have you seen your knees? One goes like this, I'm like, okay, then this one goes, and I started counting how many times. So, one thing you can do to avoid this, maybe stand up during the speech. Then you don't do this. It's a lot harder to use your legs when you're standing versus when you're sitting. You have no idea what's going on down there. So I would do that. And last thing, I know you're a very charismatic person. You always use your humor. You always smile. Like when you're there, it was not the same Jessica. I think you were trying to be more serious. Then you were were you trying to be more serious?
No.
Probably you were concerned or nervous or something, but use your charisma, use your smile, just like you're smiling now, and don't try to be serious, just enjoy your own presentation. But thank you for telling us about music.
Thank you, Nick. And our second evaluator is Mike. Please give us your evaluation of Alex.
Thank you, Vince, and fellow Toastmasters, especially Alex. This was a speech that you described as being infotainment. It's educational, but it's entertaining. But it is one of those speeches that you were looking forward to delivering, and I could tell by the enthusiasm when you got up in front of the audience. You reached right out. You started out with kind of some joking around with the crowd and give and take. One of the things that I really like about your speaking style is you have a great way of using gestures, and you're very free and fluid when you're going through a speech like this that is not scripted, but has the opportunity for you to use a website to kind of be the background information, and you drive through different things. I was going to say that you need to kind of call to action, tell us what to do, but then you did that. You actually went back to the website. Here's TechMasters TC. Click this link. Go to calendar. Open up the calendar. There's training. Click the training. You're in. And it was a very good call to action. In all, I thought this was a very well done speech. I didn't notice you were concerned about your accent and some of the pronunciation of different words. I didn't see that as being an issue at all. There were a couple of things that I thought you could do a little bit better though. One is the organization. I would like to hear in the opening what it is that you're going to do. I heard I jumped into this is training and this is what is it? Here's why you care. Here's how we're going to share. This is when it is. This is our SVP. It was almost like you jumped right into the body and just started going through those different things. I didn't know what your outline was going to be or where you were going to be taking us. So in the opening, I'd like to see more of the intent of help us understand why you are up in front and talking to us. And I think it kind of almost comes back to the sales job of show us the pain of not having that training. Maybe kind of tell us what's in it for me. Why do I care? And then say this is what I'm going to tell you. And then you go through and tell us. And then close it up with the conclusion. I thought it was an excellent speech. Your transitions were excellent. You made sure that you shook hands with the person before you came, and when you left with the Toastmaster, there was no empty going on. But it was all of the things that make a good speech. I would give this an A- to an A. I think I enjoy seeing your speeches, and I am pleased to see your progression. Thank you.
Before we forget the last 5 minutes of our lives, as we travel from point A to point B along the fourth dimension, please bow your heads and we will take the vote for the better of two evaluations. Our first evaluator of Jesse was Nick. Please raise your hand if you feel that Nick was the better of the two evaluations. And please raise your hand if you feel that Mike, the second evaluator, was the better evaluator of the two evaluators. Right, you may all raise your hands. Next on the docket here is for the grammarian report. Our first time grammarian here is Marie. Please, Marie, give us a report, and if you care to do so, you can give us a word picture. I'll hand this to you.
So for the grammarian report, it was a difficult word. I didn't even use it in my table topics because it was so, and there I go again. I've actually counted myself doing more of myself using junk words today than everyone else. But anyway, the word of the day. Mohammed used word of the day. Mike used it twice, which was pretty cool. As far as the filler words, I noticed Mohammed do one as Toastmaster. I heard one from Jonathan during table topics. I heard myself do two during table topics. During the speeches, three.
Next couple of years.
During the speeches, Jesse had 5 during the period where you were nervous with the screen resolution. It flustered you and caused you to have more insertions of those words. And Alex, I heard 3 from you. So that concludes the grammarian report.
No word picture? It's okay if you don't.
I was so busy processing them.
For now. All right, so do we have a time report? Jonathan?
Yes, we do. For today's timing, on all points of our meeting, I believe we were on time. I think we might have been just a minute later on the start of the entire meeting, but otherwise, every point by point, we've been good with time. For our 1-minute Toastmaster, he was in at about 1 minute, so that's great. Table topics, everyone was within the 1 to 2 minutes. Mohammed was just barely eking in at that 2-minute mark, so great job, everyone. Speakers, Jesse came in at 6 minutes, 47 seconds, so you got in within the 5 to 7 minute range. Alex, you were 38 seconds over that 7-minute mark. Evaluators, Nick was just in under 3 minutes, and Mike was well within his time. So, great job, everyone.
Today's table topics master was Nick. Nick, could you please give us the award for best table topic speech, which we call Wise So Well?
Absolutely. Well, I gotta say thank you to everyone. I enjoyed everyone's answers. They were fantastic. Vince, you had a great answer with traveling, time back and forth. But I think today I will give this to Marie for telling us the touching stories for life.
It's always tough to compete against touching stories. I recall I was table topics master, and I was asking Mitch Hedberg jokes, right? And I asked El Hadi, if you remember him, joke, something, a response to a Mitch Hedberg joke. And he started telling me about when he was protesting back when he was a teenager in Morocco and how he was beaten and tortured. And I'm like, I asked you a Mitch Hedberg joke. Why did you do that? Right, so on to the best speaker and evaluator awards. So the best evaluator award, let's see, we do this because evaluations are efficient. No, because evaluations are key to improvement, which is why the general evaluator role is very important. And the best evaluator of the 2 phenomenal evaluators today was Nick. I'm kind of like a dog with a collar, can't leave. I had heard mention of a naked podium syndrome. They're just going to make lectern syndrome one more time. There's no such thing as a podium here. Podium is a raised platform on which you put a lectern, a selector. So what we want to do, we want to make sure that the person controlling the meeting stays really close to the lectern so that we don't have this weird, awkward moment of nobody there, especially when we're being recorded, and now nobody's being recorded. It's just showing us our presentation. Kind of weird, right? So definitely don't want to do that. Anyway, now we have the results of our election for the best speaker. Nobody wants to do a drum roll, okay? Oh, I said to replace the batteries. All right, fantastic. Give you a clap. All right, Alex. I forgot.
They asked to dim light to see that.
But I did buy batteries a couple years ago, so that one. All right, so general evaluation of the meeting. I took a few notes here. I thought that the handoffs and transitions were a little bit awkward. I know that this morning I kind of have a little bit of a scratchy throat, which is weird. I think it's just the dry weather because I feel great. And beyond that, I felt like we weren't speaking through a transition. It's kind of like, okay, here's the next step. We want to make sure that we're on point about that. Whenever you are in control, you want to make sure that you got eyes on you. You want to make sure that things are running smoothly here. When things are getting a little weird, we're transitioning through different machines, tossing around, things like that. Make sure that the person who is owning the lectern here is speaking through that so that it isn't weird. You don't want to leave Jesse out to dry here. We just like, I make sure this is working. We're just kind of like, okay, do your thing. And let him just sit here and languishing while he's trying to figure it out. We need to talk through it and say things like, Jesse was telling me the other day about blah, blah, blah. And don't forget next week we got that holiday party. I'm going to bring egg, blah, blah, stuff like that. Just make it a little bit more, a little less awkward. Make sure that people watching and of course people here are having a good time. We don't have to go, when's he going to figure out the whole VGA and HDMI thing? Why does ILM have VGA? Well, how come this old machine doesn't have HDMI? That kind of thing. I thought it was great that we had a technical talk and a Toastmasters talk. Well, it's great to hear about your vacations and stuff, and I expect to hear that kind of thing next week during our holiday meeting, right? But we're here mainly for two things. We want to talk tech, and we want to get better as a public speaker and a leader. So it's great that we had those two different talks today. I like the idea of rebranding the business meeting a presidential address, but I don't know. Maybe we'll think about it. It's really important, I mentioned this many times, to ignore distractions. If there was a truck that were to run into the back of the building and kill half the people in the building, I want you to just keep talking. Act like nothing happened, okay? Giant explosion, Martians invading, it doesn't matter. If a guy walks up here and starts beating me, I'm just gonna be like, hey, I gotta finish my speech. I am the general evaluator. I'm going to keep talking. I will ignore this man. So you got to ignore these distractions, especially when people are heckling you. Just ignore them because they're silly. As far as our new grammarian goes, I think you did a great job, but we do want to make sure that we hear that bell. It is a really good learning tool. And I would like to also ask you, do you think you learned a lot today?
Can we ask the grammarian to use the bell? Can you use it?
There you go. Now, I think that it shows that you did. Not only did you say that, but I felt that you did because you were responding. You were saying, I caught a bunch of myself, and you were. It teaches you a lot of things, and I think that you'll notice that in a few weeks' time, you're going to start catching yourself on that and getting better and better and better. So. It shows how valuable that role it really is. And another thing is I think you gave an equitable assessment of your own word of the day. Because I thought it was a very good word of the day because it's actually kind of easy to use. I think that when you say something is extremely bad, well, you could fit that into almost anything. You would have to be an equitable speaker to not be able to fudge that word in. Either that or you're just being lazy, right? So if you didn't use the word equitable, I think you're just come on, guys. I think it's a really good word, actually. And let's see. One more thing I wanted to notice was manuals. Where's everybody's manual? Where's my manual? Come on.
Your manual is here.
So please try to bring your manuals. I do have a point to address that. I have an action item of my own, but I would like to see more manuals being passed around so we can start finishing up our conflict leaders. All right? Great. That's all I have for everybody. So I'm going to turn it back over to our Toastmaster. We're not really made it.
Thank you, General Evaluator, Vince, the President, Presiding Officer, blah, 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 blah. Let's fill in the gap. Well, that was a very good point. I thought I was doing it, but maybe I wasn't. Well noted. I appreciate your feedback. And as for our closing comments from the Toastmaster, the Spark Plug Award goes to the person who ignited the meeting the most. I think I'm gonna award it. I'm gonna award it to Nick for having great table topic questions that really got everybody thinking and enjoying the meeting right away.
If you want to award, you have to come and get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been sitting here. Distance from the lectern.
I'm so used to sitting here.
The Fuzzy Mouse Award. Jesse had a great presentation, but I think you can do a little bit better based on Nick's comments, but it's more fun when you have to compete with somebody else for it. I think this is possible for all of us. For my closing comments, I would say this was a great meeting. I really enjoyed being here. I think one of the things that you touched on, and Nick, you touched on, getting Murray's personal stories and Al-Hadi's personal stories. I think that means a lot as a club, because that means we trust each other with our personal lives and our personal stories. That means we have a little bit of a family going on, our TechMasters family that allows us to bond better and have a better club. I think that really gels well together with what we want to achieve, and it helps us encourage and motivate each other at every given moment. With that, I will turn it over back to our presiding officer. Our presiding officer today is Vince.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Do we have any new business before we go? Any new announcements? Remember the holiday meeting and everything, so don't forget. And like I said, we were
Don't forget holidays, yes?
Yes. Well, not everybody celebrates some holidays, right? And I just mean like, if you're gonna bring something, don't forget it. Be like, oh crap, I made a Jello mold and left it at home. That would suck, right? And also the food donation as well. So if you, honestly, whenever there's a food donation, I'm always like, oh yeah, the 47 cans of food I've had in my pantry for the last 2 years. I could probably give away one of my 14 cans of corn, right? No, you're not eating it. You're not probably gonna spoil, so just go ahead and give it away. Do we have a closing indication from our timer?
We do. Accept nothing without examination. Reject nothing without consideration.
I want to mention that next week the Toastmaster is Jesse's, so please make sure you get a note to him if you have a role that he will be introducing. And remember, we're going to have a holiday theme. With that, I will turn the meeting.
How do you have a closing invitation?
What?
A closing invitation. A closing is the ending, and invitation is a start.
When things get too formal, you lose a meaning, yes, and you just